Hey guys, what's going on? I'm thinking about just editing these videos because they're kind of a pain in the ass to just go through like 10 minutes of a whole video and just be consistently, nailing everything you're saying, just going on a whim. I like doing things on a whim though. I'm going to be talking about addiction and how I quit and how you can quit too. And addictions for me is just addiction in general, right? Because I was on everything. I quit benzos, I quit amphetamines, I quit methadone, I quit Lyrica, I quit caffeine, I quit smoking cigarettes. Today at 8 p.m. will be 1 year. 1 year since I quit smoking cigarettes. I used to do both. I say that in almost every video. I used to do both and I only vape now, and it's a lot better. I can actually breathe when I wake up in the morning. I have more energy. I don't feel like shit all the time. I don't smell like crap anymore from the smoke. And that nicotine smell, tar isn't all, my walls don't turn brown from tar, I quit kratom back in 2015. I quit drinking back in 2021. I quit 2020. I quit drinking. I wasn't an alcoholic. I was a binge drinker. So I wouldn't drink a lot, but I would drink a lot when I drank a lot, if that makes sense. The way to quit addiction is it has to come from within you. It has to be something within you has to consistently want it enough to where the point where you try, you fail, and you want to try again. And you never give up with it. It took me a year of straight quitting to quit smoking cigarettes. I fucked up like 50 times. I started smoking again, and it wasn't easy. And it took a lot of effort and a lot of will. People say it's not about willpower. It's, you're powerless against your addiction. But that isn't fully true. They say that in NA, but it's not completely true, right? Because here's the thing. You had the power to walk into that rehab. You had the power to stay and not to leave. That was you, and that was your agency. I believe in a mix of turning it over to God and having your own sense of agency. And for those of you who don't know, because there are people who I've told that to in NA and they said, what the hell is agency? Just in case you don't know, agency is your own free will and your own ability to do things on your own, basically. So yeah, it takes a lot of will, it takes a lot of effort. Find a higher power. That part is definitely true, It can be God, but it shouldn't be like a light bulb. People like to mock NA and say, oh, they pray to a light bulb and this and that. But no, man, find something like God or Buddha or Jesus or something from like a mainstream religion or something that you believe in that actually has a tangible effect on your reality, like your higher self in the causal realm, for example, could be your higher power. But yeah, definitely find something, because addiction isn't necessarily a disease. What it is, it's a spiritual sickness brought on by massive amounts of trauma, or just trauma in general. When you go through trauma, you might say to yourself, I haven't felt the same since I went through that trauma. And what that means basically is that you lost a part of yourself in that. The shamans call that soul loss, and they do something called soul retrieval to get that piece of your missing soul back to you. They go back to that moment in time, because the way shamans describe it is the piece of your soul stays behind to soak up the hit of trauma for you, so you don't have to feel the full amount of pain when you go through the trauma. So you're missing aspects of yourself, and you're going through you're missing aspects of yourself. You go through enough trauma, and it builds over time, and it fucks you up after a while. So then you're left with things like PTSD, bipolar disorder, and it's a spiritual sickness. And you use drugs to numb that. You use drugs to try to nullify that feeling. You try to numb whatever it is that you feel is missing within you, that piece of you. Like maybe you get massive amounts of anxiety from the piece of yourself that you lost. So it's about getting that back, and it's about getting in tune with that again. It's not just about, I quit this drug and now I'm better. It can be about that. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. I've seen it work for people before. I had 2 friends who quit drugs that way. They just stopped. They went through the withdrawals. They never went to a program or anything like that. They were fine. But the reason why the NA program helps people so much, it's not because of the 12 steps, and it's not because it gives people like these spiritual principles to bring them, to revolve around. Although that is part of it, the main reason is because it's a community of like-minded people that have gone through the same thing as these other people, and they feel like they have a sense of community, and their community is one of the most important things for human interaction and healing. And that's why NA works so well, because it's a big community of people that are like-minded with similar goals. So that's how you quit addiction, though. It has to come from within you. And you have to work on healing things at the root. What is really broken within you? Medications can cover that up. Medications can't fix that problem, though. If you need to be on suboxone and keeps you from putting a needle in your arm, I'm all for it. I'm one of those addicts. There are people in the NA program who will be like, well, you're not clean if you're on suboxone. It's just another drug. You're just replacing something with something else. But they're standing out there smoking fucking cigarettes and drinking all this coffee. And I'm like, you're using that for the same reason you're saying people on suboxone are taking that. But the truth is, it gets people away from those dirty habits, putting the needle in your arm, putting shit up your nose. You know, it's clean. It's a lot cleaner. It lasts all day, and it helps people, you know. That was a hard, but fair warning, it's really difficult to get off of, and it's even difficult to taper off of. Like benzos have horrible withdrawals, but they're pretty easy to taper off of when you do it properly. Switch to a long-acting benzo like Klonopin. If you're above 1 milligram a day, go down by 0.5 milligrams a month every 30 days until you get down to 1 milligram, then go from 1 to 0.75 to 0.5, switch to the 0.5 tablets or whatever, then go down to 0.375, 3/4, 0.25, a half, 0.125, a quarter of a 0.5, which is the lowest dose, and then jump. After being on it for a month or two, you'll have some withdrawals, but I did that, and I've been benzo free for over a year now, you know. Longer than that, actually. I've been clean for over 2 years now, you know. I don't necessarily consider those things, like if it's a medication and I consider that a dependence more than an addiction. But my addiction in general, I've been over 2 years clean from, you know. It takes a balanced approach, right? Because you can't coddle new addicts and say everything's going to be all right even if you keep fucking it up, you know. But at the same time, you can't be too hard on them and say, well, if you're on suboxone or if you're even on like fucking Neurontin, then you're not clean. Because that just, it fucks with people's self-esteem, and then it leads them right back out to the harder drugs, you know, and it causes more problems. So it takes a balanced approach. Methadone, I got off 120 milligrams of methadone back a couple years ago too, and for that one, I did 5 milligrams a week, every week. And if I was getting sick then, or if I still felt the withdrawal, then I would hold it for another week, or as long as I needed to. It was usually no more than 2 weeks. 5 milligrams down, all the way down until I got to 40. Then I went down by 2 milligrams a week. Then when I got to 30, I went down by 1 milligram a week down to 0. And it was actually it was easier than Suboxone doing that. The only pain in the ass part of methadone, you have to go to the clinic every single day for it. And if you don't pay your clinic bills, they'll just kick you out. They don't care, you know. They say, fuck you don't got insurance money, bitch, get the fuck out. We don't care if you go on the street, whatever, you know. They like to act like they care, but really when the state like runs everything, it's all about money. It's all about fucking money and insurance and switching all that around. They post those commercials. Did you know 80,000 people have died from opioid-related overdoses? Yeah, because the CDC came in and they don't let doctors prescribe fucking medications to people anymore, you know, so everyone just does fentanyl now, you know. So yeah, shit, I said the C word, so that might not look good on the YouTube algorithm. Oh well, you know, I try to keep these things as much in the guidelines as possible, and I just try to help people, you know. Suboxone is hard. If you're at 16 milligrams, the way to do it, go from 16 to 14 to 12 to 10, do this every month, to 8 to 6 to 4 to 3 to 2, and then once you get to 2, you have to stop for 3 months, hold it for 3 months, and then go down from 2 to 1.75 to 1.5 to 1.25 to 1 to 0.75 to 0.5 to 0.25 to 0.125. Hold that as long as you need to, and then go to 0, and you won't have any withdrawals at all. But it's difficult. Suboxone is a different beast, man. It has a different element of nastiness to it. For whatever reason, it has like these weird psychological, it fucks with you on a psychological level. Like methadone just makes you sick, but Suboxone, it like makes you feel like you're coming unraveled almost. And all those of you who have had Suboxone withdrawals will know exactly what I'm talking about. And stay on the 4 milligram films until you get to 0. Don't go down to the 2s, because the 2s suck for whatever reason. They don't work. I would switch over to them, and I would always get really sick and like get those psychological symptoms. And then I went back up to the 4 milligram films, and I was fine. You know, I was fine down to 0. So do that, and it should help you. And if you have any additional questions for me, let me know. I know a lot about these different substances. Amphetamines, I just cold turkeyed. Crack, I just cold turkeyed. Fentanyl, I went on the methadone to stop the withdrawals from that because I was overdosing on it, and I just had to switch over to something safer. And that's the way you do it. man. So if you have any questions, let me know. I pray for all of you. If you're suffering through addiction, it's a horrifying thing to go through, but you can do it and you can get clean. And I have faith in you. So if you have any questions or you want to reach out, just let me know. Leave me a comment. I will respond, okay? Have a blessed day. Bye.